My name is Nathaniel, a proud Hoosier whose parents brought me north away from the slavers. When the war broke out, I enlisted infantry, but we soon served in Colonel Wilder's Lightning Mounted Infantry Brigade at the Battle of Chickamauga, Georgia, September 19th and 20th, 1863. We were not officially cavalry, as we did not use sabers and usually fought on foot.
I am Elijah, well noted in the good book. I began this war a slave, but would earn my freedom by personal order of General Forrest. I was hired as a teamster by General Forrest and just considered about a free man, and got into some of the fights against the Yankees. At the Battle of Chickamauga, General Forrest got a chance to see some of his best Negroes doing the work, arriving on the firing line and shooting down Yankees the same as the white soldiers. The only persons that seemed to mind that business were the Yankees, who were shocked to see us contraband cutting them down like grain.
Our brigade of Westerners, armed with Spencer repeating rifles, roughed up the Rebs at several turns, as we could hold off 5 times our numbers. Our unit was there from beginning to end, and I remember what I saw as if it ended but minutes ago. I will admit that I consider myself most fortunate to be here to tell the tale, as it was a bloody affair, the Chickamauga becoming a river of death. The war against the Secesh in the West, up to that point, is well noted in the newspapers of the past 2 years. Our armies were well noted for bending up to that point, first at Shiloh, Tennessee, back in April of '62, then at Murfreesboro, Tennessee, the 1st of January '63. In both of these battles, the Rebs attacked furiously and won the first part of the fight. But our lines held and eventually drove back and defeated the enemy. Throughout the remainder of '63, our armies and Bragg's simply marched, flanked, dug in, then marched and flanked some more, in what I read ended in the Tullahoma campaign. Both armies knew the toughness of the other, and I suppose it was only a matter of time before the generals had to put the boys in again.
General Forrest and many of the cavalry officers were successful on the advance of a push at the Yankees, and won fame covering the retreat. We wondered when it would be so, when General Bragg would let his infantry win some fame.
I suppose the battle came to be because both sides were about ready for an out-and-out fight. Our commanding general of the Army of the Cumberland, General Rosecrans, Old Rosie, had outmarched and outflanked rebel General Bragg from Tullahoma to capturing Chattanooga, Tennessee in early September. The army may have been under 60,000 good men, but all pitched in to fooling Bragg as to where we intended to go. It was thought we were surely on to Atlanta.
Our General Bragg was not well liked by General Forrest. When General Forrest was out for a fight, all the men knew the fight was to come and then finished in quick order. With this Bragg, he was part hen, part rooster. Never knew which one which day. Bragg did bring the army together, and our force was covering it on the flanks or watching the enemy in the advance or retreat. Our force grew to around 70,000 men, and the men remembered General Forrest storming about his staff, yelling about Bragg needing to hit the Yankees while they were spread all across northern Georgia.
It's not too bad. I always enjoyed the duty myself.
The fighting on the 18th was a mere skirmish. As the morning sun of the 19th opened our eyes, skirmish fire came along with it. Then the sounds of bugles and fifes, and drums, all troops forming, and every man could tell that Rosecrans and Bragg had found each other. Like two big roosters, it was time to see who was the boss of the yard.
We managed to get some sleep and woke to dull some teeth on hard tack and boil up some coffee. Firing to our left signaled the ball had opened. General Thomas's troops, General Brannan's, and General Baird's divisions were hit hard near Jay's Mill. They had none of us there to help them, so Thomas's men thought they were hitting a small holding force of Johnny's. No, sir. They encountered all of Walker's corps and Forrest's cavalry.
General Walker's men, especially General Little's division, melted each Yankee advance like a flame to wax. But with each advance, the Yankees kept reforming, and then, by late morning, were reinforced. And General Little's men were then played out. General Little's men did some great work, but needed help. We watched the battle on the right flank and made sure no Yankees rolled up on our men from that direction.
It was a piecemeal battle, almost formless, as both General Thomas and the Rebs just slugged away with a brigade, one at a time. The battle that morning was very close between the combatants.
After General Walker's men were out of steam, General Cheatham's division arrived and shared the field, renewing the fight for a long while in the afternoon, fighting another Yankee division. By late afternoon, because the Yankees had spread themselves thin, left a hole in their center, and General Stewart's division of Little Giants found it and crashed into position on Cheatham's left. All the sounds of muskets and artillery were deafening.
We thought we'd done some tall fighting and were believed to be in the reserve line, but it was soon found that the reserves were all dispatched and the front line was gone. So seen in the distance ahead of us were brigades of Rebs coming fast. Later, it was found out to be Reb General Bushrod Johnson's, General A.P. Stewart's, and a division from the Army of Northern Virginia. We were in part supposed to stop their progress, like a clapboard stopping a tornado.
Some of the men saw Irish General Clayburn roll forward his men. He was considered like our General Forrest, and when he went into action late in the day, he further convinced the Yankees they may want to find a safer place. General Clayburn's men did some tall fighting, but darkness came upon the field, and both sides seemed whipped.
fighting had raged from Jay's Mill to the Vineyard Farm, back and forth over the Lafayette Road, and almost upon Old Rosie's headquarters. Our army buckled hard a few times, but held up to the test. Much of the army was in the vicinity or within supporting distance. The fighting may be in earnest if we stay in the morning. I'm not sure either side considered who won the day, but as we were allowed to wrap our blankets around us on a cold, uncomfortable night, many would consider this a last sleep.
It seems sad that so many men could die to amount to nothing but a few yards of battlefield. But the good Lord knows his well-made plans. We could only guess the Lord's plans for the next of the cock's crow. But what plans for you, General Bragg?
Our brigade, under General Winder, were posted in reserve on the right of the infantry line, near the Old Rosie's headquarters at Widow Glen House. As the morning broke on September 20, our pickets came back and told us that several hundred yards in front, near the Vineyard Farm, they heard commands being given through the darkness. The Rebs were getting into position to attack, massing between the Vineyard Farm and the Brotherton cabin to the north. Infantry near our bivouac was called into formation. These men of Sheridan's, Davis, and Wood's division all got moving. In those thick woods, It was hard to see more than a regiment or a brigade at a time, unless they crossed the immediate yards or field around the cabins.
Dispatch riders moved back and forth behind the lines, and our command, under Forrest, barely had time to munch on our corn pone and bacon before we were poking at the Yankees. And sure enough, we're still there. As the middle of morning brought the sun to our heads, the chance to see all those men of Polk's wing ready to again enter the fight was a sight to see. But riding down the line a ways, one could see General Longstreet and his staff. General Bragg gave Longstreet some of our western men, and his were not all off the trains yet. His men were always in the newspapers for victory in Virginia, and our men were curious how well they would stand up to it here. The fighting rolled into a steady tearing sound of musketry until midday.
11 a.m., our infantry was pressed to their front, the Rebs attacking across the Lafayette Road. Old Rosie rode the line and cheered his men, promising them eternal fame if they beat back the best of Bragg and Lee. The men cheered and munched on their hardtacks as they shuffled into columns. By noon, the Rebs attacked in force just above the cabin at the Brotherton farm. But in routine form, we had a solid defense and threw them back with a withering fire. As the next hours rolled by, the cracking of muskets intensified, which meant the Rebs were increasing the numbers. The rebels' strange hog call or yell would be heard, then volleys, and then the deep guttural hurrah of our men. That is how we knew the ebb and flow of battle. Who cheered last held the ground. While Reynolds' division held the right, the men of Brannan's division, which fought like tigers the day before, held more than their share on the second day. The men of Wood's division to their right were soon ordered to move, as it was believed they were needed down the line to the left.
That's it, fellas. That's it. That's it.
Our men on both wings attacked and were pushing some of the Yankees, but they would not break. Polk's men pressed and pinned the Yankees' right, allowing Longstreet's men to hammer away at their end. The Yankees were fighting as they always do, just good enough. The men of Hindman, Bushrod Johnson, Hood, and Kershaw all pushed and pushed. General Longstreet seemed to be mad with a bear's fury with the failure of his men to drive the Yankees from their lines. As they say, he saw a whole Yankee division removing themselves from the line. He immediately sent in his hammers to pound the gap.
For some reason, the generals believed there was a gap to the right where there was not. General Wood knew there was not, but followed orders. At the time, his men were only very lightly engaged, so they could move, but within what seemed minutes, General Longstreet's rebels plunged into the several hundred yards wide gap before it could be filled by other reserves. It was a monumental blunder and not well remedied.
By early afternoon, anyone who was fortunate enough to see what happened was something not long forgotten. The entire Yankee right flank melted like butter on a griddle.
The Rebs pushed away every brigade we had near the gap. Brannan's men were turned completely to the right, and Sheridan's and Davis's fine troops, which we supported, were soon routed between the Dyer and Tanyard buildings. Men were panic-stricken, and when asked where they would stop and reform, said, "The Ohio River." Our Spencer repeating rifles once again were called to save the line. Wilder's men went in and gave the Rebs lightning on their left flank, slowing them down.
Kneel down!
found out from prisoners we escorted to the rear, General Rosecrans himself flew from the field on a fast horse, cut off from the second half of his army. Longstreet had done it. He had sent the Yankees packing, but we had seen this before. The men wanted to push and bag the whole Federal Army and end this war. About this time, General Forrest was ordered to push his men to the Lafayette Road to block the passage of Yankee reinforcements coming to the rescue. They bullied our men from the road and meant business.
Our men retreated towards McFarland's Gap and the direction of Rossville. Half of the army remained on the field under the able leadership of General George H. Thomas, who organized a hilltop defense on the Snodgrass Farm and ridge beyond. He had gathered Steedman's division, which had pushed their way down past Forrest Cavalry, and Brannan's diehards, and the men of Wood's division. Units were rallying and praising Thomas's name once they realized he held off Longstreet.
No man could count how many times Longstreet's men went up and down those slopes, only to be swept back by artillery canister and well-timed musketry. We could tell Longstreet's men by their new uniforms, mostly a off-blue color and their square flags, and our Army veterans by their homespun brown uniforms. But they fell in heaps, side by side. One man from Longstreet's Eastern Army was a man called the Angel of Fredericksburg, or something like that. An officer named Kirkland from South Carolina, who was known for his care of Yankee wounded the previous year. Darkness was then approaching, and then exhausted men of both sides wondered if there would be a third day of battle.
Thomas kept his men on the field with the assistance of Granger's Reserve Corps. By 7:30 or 8 o'clock, most of his men were brought away from the broken-down property of Snodgrass Hill. Some regiments were assigned to hold off all the Rebs and were wrecked and captured. The boys of Old Rosie's army were broken down physically, mentally, and just wanted to get away from Bragg. The affair at Chickamauga was a sure enough defeat.
The following morning of the 21st, General Forrest pushed north in the direction of Lookout Mountain and watched the Yankees make for Chattanooga. General Bragg was begged to aggressively pursue the Yankees, but Bragg got his feet caught in mud. The whole of them could have been bagged. Bragg allowed the Yankees to occupy the city, get rest, and settle for a siege. The victory at Chickamauga was not a shining victory, but a dull blood crimson victory. The war was just allowed to go on until the fall, and more death. Both armies were becoming perfect at killing each other without ending the war. As we watched the Yankees in Chattanooga, we knew they gained strength while we weakened What would Bragg lead us to next?
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help us produce more compelling historical content like this, please like, comment below, and share this video with fellow history buffs. And of course, be sure to subscribe to help keep history happening.